Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the My Path podcast by LeaDAOship. It's my honor to be here hosting this session. My name is Jonas Wolf, and I have Azima here from Connect here. Azima, welcome. Fantastic to
Thank
have you.
you. Thanks for having me here.
Massive pleasure. Azima and I, we met at Draper University last year in San Mateo, San Francisco, Silicon Valley area. And we were together with a lot of super driven, ambitious founders. And Azima was one of my absolute favorites, of course, based on her beautiful smile, as you can all see, based on her personality, and the amazing impact venture that she is building. So Seema, if you don't mind, for everybody, could you give a brief introduction to yourself? Very important, your purpose, because we're talking about your purpose path and the
Absolutely.
business you're building. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Jonas. You always make me so happy with all you have to share. Um, so my name is Azima Dhanjee, and like Jonas mentioned, I run an enterprise called Connect here. We are based over here in Pakistan, and we are working with the purpose of making more spaces accessible for persons with disability, for the deaf community, so that like you and I, they can live an independent life and serve their purpose in the society. So of course, myself, I have been raised by deaf parents, and sign language is
Wow.
my mother tongue. It's the first language I ever learned as a baby to be able to communicate with my mom and dad. And just growing up, realized how easy it was for me to understand and be with my parents. However, the society really looked at them differently, right? Like people were shocked that even deaf parents can be independent, raise children, have a job. And I always felt that someday someone is going to use technology so that deaf community who can't hear and use sign language as a mode of communication can have access to the larger society. Until I was 19 years old, and I realized that if no one else is doing it, that does not mean
Mm,
I cannot do it. And mind you, I don't come
wow.
from like a business family. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have an understanding of how to do a business, but it was more like, we all have that one thing in our life. And it's true, actually, that doesn't let you sleep, that you're constantly thinking about when you're showering. This was my thought. This was something that was always in my head, and I really wanted to do something about it. And we started with just a Facebook page to teach sign language 5.5 years ago. And slowly and gradually, the pace picked up because the need existed, the purpose need existed, and we're very glad to serve that purpose.
So beautiful. And I think you have all the elements coming together there, Seema, like the story of your parents growing up with both parents being deaf, right? And even language being your being your mother tongue. That's pretty wild. I'm curious, could you just teach us briefly how to say hello in Pakistani sign language? Because I
Yeah,
also learned
so
from you that sign language is different all around the world. I'm sure many listeners here actually don't know about that. There's American Sign Language, Pakistani, and so many others. So how to say
yeah.
hello?
Yes, it's so cultural based. However, hello is one of the,
Mm,
internationally used. So how would you say hello normally, Jonas? Like if you
I
have
would
to,
say, yeah, I usually, if I don't know somebody from the distance, maybe say, hey, waving, right? If I know
yeah,
somebody, I love to embrace people with a massive hug.
yeah. So hello is like hello, or like, with respect. It's like a salute,
Okay,
but like, yeah, so that's
okay,
also hello here. That's how we say
nice.
it.
Simple enough. I think everybody can pick that up.
Yes,
Beautiful, beautiful,
yes, yes,
amazing, amazing. And again, your mission is so deep and rooted on that personal upbringing. And as you said, like you've been thinking about that obviously all your life. I not that close to the deaf community. I have an uncle who is blind, and
Oh, wow.
so can partially relate how that is. But yeah, all our senses are very important. But for those who don't have, one or more senses, it's so amazing that you work on empowering those people and integrating them even more in society, giving more opportunities. You mentioned you started,
Absolutely.
yeah, and you mentioned you started 5.5 years ago. So it's been already quite a journey. I'm very curious, like, how did you get started back then with very limited resources?
Yes, so it's such a crazy story. This was right after the first year at university. This idea was always in my head, and maybe my closest friends knew this is something I was thinking about. My parents knew I
Mm,
was thinking about, and although they're deaf themselves, they were like, "Oh, you got into a business school, so you have to go study first, and then you can work on the crazy ideas you got." However, this was just something that was constantly bothering me. Like I wasn't studying for exams, I was thinking about ways to work for them. Super crazy. So I reached out to a very close friend of mine, and I shared this idea with her. And we were having a summer break coming up very soon. So she recommended that we should reach out to one of the incubators, one of the only incubators at that time in our city. However, we didn't know if they'll let us in. We're just kids. Would they take us seriously? All of these questions, all of these doubts in our mind. However, what I did was I went to their website and I looked up the people who worked there, and I just remembered some names. And my friend and I just walked into that incubator one day, and we asked for that person, and we told them that this is an idea that we have, and my friend was just coming to support me. Later in the journey she joined us, but it was just walking into a space and sharing with them the vision, the idea that we had. And that person asked us to, like, send us a business proposal, we'll get back to you. And I remember coming back to my place and then just constantly working on a proposal, whatever I thought was a perfect business plan at that time. I just made something up and sent it to him. So he said, we're gonna discuss this further on call. However, I knew, and I always feel that meeting people in person brings a different set of commitment, different set of passion.
mm,
So I told him, what if I come in and discuss it further and not do it on the phone? And he agreed. And when we went there, he asked us to pitch the idea in front of someone who was actually, she's still known as the tech guru in our country. She's very
mm,
prominent. And he just said, pitch in front of her. And we did whatever we thought was like a suitable pitch. We just rambled. We just
mm,
what the passion was. And I think she really saw the interest and saw our commitment in it. And the first thing she said was, okay, this is the space available. You guys, if you want, you can start working today. And that was
mm,
so weird to
mm.
hear. I wasn't prepared. I had a
A big
lunch to go
yes.
to that day. And I was like, oh, I don't have my laptop, so I can't do it today. But how about if I come tomorrow? And she said, sure, come tomorrow. So it was so crazy
Mm,
because we went in there with the thought that she's going to give us some ideas, tell us, meet this person, that person.
mm,
However, she opened her office, opened her space, and that, very early on taught me that in your journey, how okay it is to reach out to people who you don't know, and you'd be surprised the kindness strangers show you. And this was 2017, and we just had a space, they had resources. And that's where we started our Facebook page to teach sign language. And as soon as we did that, I
mm,
think the deaf community, especially in our country, was really deprived of, seeing content being made for them, seeing their culture, their language being celebrated
mm,
online. They did not
mm,
know that the hearing community, don't talk to them because it's not because they don't want to and they don't care. It's because they're scared that they're going to
mm,
offend them, and they don't have enough awareness side of the thing. They don't know what sign language is. So once we started our Facebook page, very naturally, we started getting a lot of people reaching out to us having a lot of experiments. We were once reached out by an organization that wanted us to do concert in sign language. So interpreting
Wow.
music in sign language. And I had already seen it online happening all around the world in the concerts, but never in
Mm,
Pakistan. It was such a
mm,
wild concept. The deaf community had never been to a concert over here. And this was very early in our journey. And when we announced that we're doing a concert in sign language, a lot of people on Instagram were just like, that's such a ridiculous idea. People who can't hear,
mm,
how are you going to make music
mm,
accessible? But Jonas, kid you
mm,
not, once we did the concert, we had sign language interpreters. They were very close to speakers with vibrations to feel it. The lights were adjusted to the feel of the music. And once that concert
mm.
happened, it went crazy because people were like, oh, we walked in and we didn't realize where the deaf community was. Everyone was just dancing together, having
Uh,
such a great time. And they were like, where are the deaf people? And I'm like, you don't have to differentiate. It's exactly the same
they
thing.
are
It's about,
everywhere.
they're
Yeah.
everywhere. It's all about creating that accessibility so that people can
Mm,
just be part of the society. One of the definition of disability is it's actually the limitation of our society that limits them. It's not
mm,
because they have a limitation themselves. And I think that was a
mm.
really good learning for me. And we did the concert, Forbes covered it, and that sort of started the brand of Connect Here itself. And that year, we were still students, and we were still, it wasn't another food hailing or ride hailing application that you bring it to the market and everyone knows how it works and they quickly adapt to it, right? This was a new idea. We had to not only provide a service, but create a market for it itself, which is
Mm.
why our initial years was just experimenting, telling people how it's done, its importance, trying out different ideas, and then bringing it together to the business model we have today.
Wow, what a journey. I just taken a few notes here to recap, and I love what you said about disability being actually more a reflection about the limitations of society, right? How we integrate people and bring people together. Very, very powerful. And as
Absolutely.
a brief recap, I wrote down number one, your decision at a very young age to be bold and just go to the space, to the incubator in person and be spontaneous to pitch on the fly, even though you didn't prepare for that, right? And learning that big important lesson that no matter where we are, who we are, our age, whatever, we can go and be out there if the passion is there and the desire is there
Absolutely.
to succeed. And I think very important as a point number three, you utilized existing platforms, like you mentioned, Facebook in that case, to gather and get the community together,
Absolutely.
and then cultivate that niche community. And maybe number five, do something really special for them. Maybe even something a lot of people would call outrageous, like having that concert with all the deaf people integrated in it. So wow, super amazing. I think a lot of all of us listening in here to learn. Thank you, Azima. Let me get to my next question here, which is about team members. We know that businesses, they start with a big vision, but then we can only do so much ourselves. So how
Absolutely.
did you attract your team members and also early supporters beyond the incubator we just learned about?
Absolutely. I think this is such an important question because of course, you can have great ideas, but you can't do everything by yourself. And I think it's such an important
Mm,
learning for entrepreneurs out there to just be open to allow others to be a part of your passion, your mission. And I think that early in our journey, I knew that I can't do this alone. I'm more of a
mm,
team person. I've always been big advocate for teamwork. So I try finding, people I knew who bring in different skill set. So I reached out to two of my high school friends, one of which I knew that she had been a part of the startup ecosystem, and another person, another high school friend who was very much into technology And for myself, I had the background of the community. So, I reached out to these friends, not with like, oh,
Mm,
this is what I want to do and become a part of it and everything. It was more about building that relationship and, sharing that passion and see if they are equally interested, passionate about testing it out, trying it out, because I knew that they don't have any background or connection with the deaf community. It's just me who have that connection. So
mm,
what will be their motivation, their inspiration to work for this? And I think that's how we came together as the co-founding team. And then we knew that I had to find more people like myself who knew sign language, who had deaf family members.
mm.
However, it wasn't the easiest, like I come from a very
Interesting.
prominent deaf family. I have a lot of cousins who are codas like myself. Their parents are deaf, they know sign language. However, not all of them are interested in the field or want to become interpreters or necessarily were
Mm,
very supportive of the idea in the very beginning, right? They had their own doubts. They were confused why I was going online on Facebook as a woman, making videos and sharing them. And this is like 2017. So we didn't have the blogging culture that was so prominent in countries like Pakistan,
mm,
especially, right? So for women to go online, make videos about, teaching something, that wasn't like a common concept. So you had people who you trusted as team, they joined in and it worked out. You had people who you thought would be really good asset to your team. However, though they were passionate, but their belief systems didn't work. And you have to
mm,
very quickly make the decision that, will they'll be an asset or a liability in the long run. And it's not easy, like I remember that the first person who joined us and worked out in our team was our first employee. When they decided to leave, I remember I was crying.
mm.
I was
Oh,
shocked and I was crying and I was like, oh my
mm,
God, what's gonna happen? How I'm gonna run this company anymore. Also, the fact, Jonas, for years, interpretation, has been looked at not as a profession, but more of like a voluntary work. So nobody took it
mm,
seriously. Like, this is something that we're gonna pursue, that we're gonna study, and then we're gonna get paid for in Pakistan. So I
mm,
had to create the
mm.
whole profession, inspire people, show them there's value in it, create ways of like paying them for their service so they take it
Wow.
seriously and they inspire
Mm,
others to join in as well. So I think
mm,
team building and growing the team is still one of my biggest challenges, but also one of the things that has been very eye-opening, right? Like
mm,
there are always more people out there who would like to join your mission. They're somewhere and you will find them. And it's also about being so proactive about constantly looking out for these people if they're not as a part of your team, but maybe you meet them at a family gathering and you're able to
mm,
pick up on clues and qualities that will be a great asset and how you can bring them into your team as well. And then within the team, the dynamics of the team is very important. I started the
mm.
journey where us co-founders were 19 years old all. And then when we were
Wow.
about 20, 21 year old, that is when we had to hire more people who were about the same age or older than us. And like
Mm,
very naturally, when you're a team member and you come in and you see like, the person who's leading the entire organization is someone the same age or someone younger than you, then you have your own doubts, you have your own reservations, you're questioning, are they competent enough to lead us? Are they more aggressive or assertive? So I had to
mm,
really constantly grow and reflect on myself as a leader as well to make sure that regardless of what age we are throughout, we're not talking about age, we're talking about the warmth, the competence of people around and building relationships like that. Empowering team members has been also a great learning, of course it's your dream and you started it, you understand it the best, but how important it is to delegate and empower others and recognize others for the work that they're doing and not taking all of the credits for it. So we always try to celebrate everyone in our team, empower them. Even if it's a person who is in accounting and they come up with an idea for marketing, we
Mm.
welcome that. We don't say, oh, you're accounting, you don't
Celebration
know.
mode.
Yes, come, give us ideas, give us your
Yeah.
fresh perspective. And I think that really, really rolls the team to even go further. And I hope it just keeps on growing. I just reflected yesterday that my team finally is on 50-50% male to female ratio. So that was like really good for me, that the diversity of gender
Mm.
being open to, like, gender beyond just women and men, be welcoming that regardless of,
Mm.
like the country we belong to. It's still, everybody's still adopting to it, but we want to build a safe space where it's not only inclusive for diversity for persons with disability, but for
Mm.
genders
Anybody.
and for
Mm.
people who themselves want to describe them in the way that they want. So that's been really
Mm.
interesting as well, and we're learning as we're growing.
Mm. So beautiful. Yeah. I mean, that's why I became interested in entrepreneurship and startups many years ago. This chance that we have as founders, no matter if it's a for-profit company, an impact venture, or a community-driven venture, that we can create and set up new rules and create like platforms for people to thrive, and we can make this more and more inclusive than other companies are at this day and age, and set positive examples for others to emulate in many, many ways. I absolutely love it. Azima, looking back, I mean, it's been a fairly long journey already. Was there a moment where you like, completely lost it? You had a burnout, or your company ran out of money, or you mentioned the employee one leaving, and you were in tears. Like, what was kind of like the biggest obstacle moment that you went through and overcame along this journey?
I think I can't remember that there was this one moment that was like really, upsetting. However, there
Mm.
were, multiple moments where I was just like, I, I need to just shut down everything and just think for myself, or,
Mm.
not do business today, not work today, and just sit in my room and distract
Mm.
myself. And I think that happens to everyone. And it happened more in the beginning because I was really burnt out. I was studying, I was working, I was
Mm.
trying to be there for my family as well. So I didn't have time for myself. Like my weekends, my days, my nights, everything was just really, really booked. And I think that's one thing that
Mm.
nobody told me at the very early age, that, your mental health is equally very, very important. And it is okay to take a break for yourself. And it is okay
Mm.
to feel sad about the defeats. And it happens no matter how much entrepreneurship is glamorized out there, and how everybody just share their successes. My business did this, my business did that. You never know what's
Mm.
actually going behind the shop, and it's a lot of
Mm. True.
ups and downs. And I think, there was this one certain moment that we really wanted to get a project, and we really had a lot of hopes with that project because it was going to bring a lot of, like, growth in our company like this. And we did not get that project, although we worked so hard for it. So that's when I realized that, the next day I met someone and they were like, oh, congratulations. And I'm like, for what? Like, in my heart, I was like, I had such a huge defeat, but they were celebrating a
Mm.
success that we had a few days ago. And that made me
Mm.
realize, it's not only about seeing the negatives, it's about
Mm.
acknowledging both, staying through both, and realizing that, you're not always going to have wins. That's now how it works.
Mm.
Acknowledging that everyone has ups and downs, and also acknowledging the fact that the quicker you deal with the downs, rather just throwing it, ignoring it, and it bursts at you one day, and then you really lose yourself. However, looking at, like, just facing it reaching out to the people who believe in you, who can remind you
Mm,
of your vision and mission. And for me, that's my brother. He always reminds me of why we started and the kind of impact that we have made. He forces me to, like,
mm,
read up some good news that we have had in the past. And I think
mm,
just finding these allies and trusting on them is
mm.
also very, very important.
Wow, that is also so important. And it's amazing that your brother is so close to you on this journey as well. Of course, family, he went through the same circumstances and experiences. But then if you have somebody so close, being such a close ally to you, for sure, very beautiful. And you mentioned also the importance of taking care of ourselves, maybe taking a few steps back, taking a day off. I'm curious, something I work with a lot of founders and leaders on is our energy level and how can we keep that up among anything that happening around us, right? I always
Yeah.
say, hey, we're all floating in an ocean and sometimes there's like big waves coming that hit us. So what do you do in your life, Azima, to energize yourself and also your team? If you could share any other thoughts or strategies.
Absolutely. I think I am still very much learning how to do this, but the biggest learning has been to not fake it. Like, if you are feeling very low
Mm,
on energy and you're scared that your team might get demotivated, and that's why you try to fake your energy and stay on top, just smile the
mm,
entire time, it really
mm,
impacts you on the inside,
mm,
right? Like people say, fake it till you make it, but at times you can't fake it till you make it because you're very low on energy.
mm,
And I think sharing that with your team, you'll be shocked how much support you receive. And this is something I learned from the
mm,
founder of Carta when I was attending one of his session in the Valley.
mm,
He was sharing how now that his team is so big that he doesn't have one-on-one interaction. However, they're working under the same building. And whenever he has low days, he is concerned that his team's going to think that, or maybe the business is going down, this is happening, that's happening. So, he's like, rather, faking my energy or rather, concerning my team about something going wrong, I try to acknowledge that I am feeling low and try to let my team know that I am feeling low because of a personal reason. And the team then supports because the team also understands that founders are not robots. We have things going on at home as well in our personal life relationships. And I
mm,
tried that with my team as well. I started acknowledging it. I started telling them that, I'm not smiling today because I'm a very, like, I smile almost all the time. So whenever I'm
mm,
low, it's really on my face. I can't hide it. So I started
mm,
acknowledging it. I stopped hiding it in my room. Rather, I would go out, I would go
mm,
to my office because that's my happy space. And I would tell my team that, I'm not feeling really good because of a personal reason. I'll tell it if I want, I won't tell it, they'll respect it. And they would give me the space. In fact, they would, like, try to ask me if I would like to eat cake that day, or do you want something? Can we help you out in some way? Or they would try to
mm,
not bother me with what's going on around and find solutions themselves, and let
mm,
me know some other day when I'm feeling good. So I think acknowledging and being honest about it is one thing that I've learned is very important. Second thing is to
mm,
realize that if you don't work for one day, your business is not going to shut down. That's why you have a team running it, right? So not
mm,
micromanaging and stressing that if I don't work for a day, everything's going to go away. Take that needed break. Realize that again, you're
mm,
not a robot. You need a break.
mm,
Acknowledging that and taking that, and I do it. Now that if I feel like it, I'm glad that I can, and my team really supports me with it. But if I need a break, I absolutely take it because I know, and I have actually faced it, that once you're just hustling and not taking that one day break, it results into you getting sick for a very long time, and it has happened to me. Other than that, I think it's
Mm,
also very important to pick up on things like, I stopped reading a very long while ago. However, when I started it again now, I realized how much I enjoyed it, how much I enjoyed just,
mm,
going on my roof at night and just being in my own thoughts and read. So I'm trying to find these things. I realized that I really love bowling. Like I never knew that before. I'm not that good at it, but that's one thing that I want to learn. I just want
mm.
to log off from the world and just go out there and bowl for 1 hour or 2 hours and learn to get better at it for myself. I think exploring things that you enjoy to do and how it can positively impact your life and allow you to shut off from things that are stressing, that's also very, very important. However, I'm still learning, and if there is a listener out there who have other ideas that has worked for them, please let me know because I'm open to experiment.
I think you shared a bunch of wonderful examples, and I make sure to share some other thoughts with you going forward. And I think it's so important, like taking some time off, socializing, family time to make sure all of that is coming together. One thing that helped me personally in the last couple of months quite a bit was I'm not there yet that I do it on a daily basis. I'm in Bali Island right now, and one of the missions is to get deeper into my daily practices of meditation and qigong, like an Chinese form, you can say an internal martial arts that is about your energy flow inside you. Yeah, I think these things, they're really important or beautiful for balancing. In Beijing, I joined a fantastic yoga studio, and also adjusting experimenting with that, and just seeing what is at this point in life and in my working career and so on, what is giving me that balance and peace of mind. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Wonderful. Asima, next up, I love to ask you about a leader that inspires you, and why. You mentioned the Carta founder earlier. Who is a person that you look up to right now? I mean, this is obviously also evolving.
Absolutely. I love how you said it's evolving because at different situation, at different context, understanding
Mm,
the needs of your current time, like right now, I was just telling Jonas earlier as well, one thing that I've realized is that as my team grows, I want to do justice to them by being a leader who grows as well, who is capable of
mm,
managing a bigger team and delivering bigger goals and KPIs. So I have been, really seeking support of one of the top CEOs at one of the top companies in our country, and he has been so graceful in sharing his time. I can't name him, but one thing I can
mm.
tell is that the way I found him was because I saw a lot of skill set in him, not at one instant, but like his online recordings, instances. I met him at webinars and events, and so sorry.
Oh, good.
I met him and I realized that these are the skill sets I want to build, and reaching out to him. And then again, not knowing if it's going to be a yes or no for the mentorship, but getting his support. And really, whatever he was advising, right? I left my notions of thinking behind. I wasn't like, oh, I know already this wouldn't work for me. He told me stuff that I've tried before and didn't work for me. However, I did it his way and it turned out that it works. So that's been like my
Mm,
mentor and my leader, because I see the qualities, the humbleness I always aspire to have, regardless of how much I grow. However, I think one of the
mm,
leaders that I always, always look up to is the leader who leads the Khan Development Network around the world. His name is His Highness Prince Karim Al Khan. And the Khan Development Network is a beautiful example of social enterprises around the world who have been there for years now, and who work on a very Robin Hood model of having hospitals which are top notch hospitals, and charging those who can afford, and then reinvesting
mm,
that money and that profit into serving those who can't. So I think
Mm,
I learned a lot about the ethics of sustainability, which is why when I started Connect Here, we never started with a not-for-profit model. I really respect the not-for-profit model. However, I wanted to have a business that had revenue streams so that it doesn't shut down if a grant closes. It can keep on growing and going and serving the purpose in the long run as well. So the ethics of sustainability was so important since a very young age because I looked up to this leader. I looked up to this network and the kind of work that they were doing for tourism, for climate change, for health,
mm,
education, and in the developing parts of the world like Pakistan, India, Kenya, Uganda. So in countries that, not a lot of people think about, but then like another example is of a hydropower dam that they built in Uganda. But when they
mm,
built it with the local workforce and taught them how to run the power plant, right? And then once, 3 years, the power plant kept on growing. It's called the Bujagali Dam. And once the Bujagali Dam was growing and it was stable, the Akhan Development Network gave the Bujagali Dam to the Ugandan government, but not for free. They charged them $1 to give the dam away. And the reason for that $1 is beautiful because they didn't want to say that we donated or gifted it to the Ugandan government.
mm,
However, turn the narrative and say that the government bought it from the network and the government
mm,
and the people of Uganda are going to run this entire space, the entire dam. And that taught me the power of empowering the locals, empowering a community, and building long lasting, sustainable difference and
mm.
change. So I think that has been a really great motivation and learning and a mentor I've always looked up to.
Beautiful. Please share the name with us that we can make sure to broadcast it to everybody on our social
Will do.
channels to inspire more people. And another great example of empowering, in this case, especially the global south, where so many people are living and a lot of impact work is taking place right now, which is also very beautiful to observe. Azima, before we're wrapping up here, I have one more question for you. What is your number one suggestion for those who want to start their purpose journey, and especially if it's an entrepreneurial one?
Absolutely. I think the right time to start your journey is today, right? Like a lot of the time we have that convictions in our head that I'm not old enough, I don't have enough money to build a website or build an application. I don't have the resources or the mentors. A lot of people are also like, if I'm not gonna serve from day one, how would people have faith in me and to serve and to I need a team, I need a website, I need an application. And I meet with these people. I love mentoring young entrepreneurs because I was a young entrepreneur who got lucky with the mentors I found. And I feel like giving back. And once I meet these,
Mm,
individuals, these youngsters, they're always like, oh, but I think I'm too young right now to pursue it. People are not gonna take me seriously. And I always tell them that the biggest regret I have in my life is that I did not start Connect here sooner when I had more time in my
mm,
life when I was in school
mm,
and college, right? And I
mm,
also tell them that Connect here did not have the first website until 2 years of our business because we couldn't afford to build a website or invest in it. So we, like you mentioned earlier as well, we used the third party platform that was Facebook to actually
mm,
promote our business. People would ask us, where can we learn more about Connectia? We would give them our Facebook page without,
mm,
being shy about it or thinking that, oh, they're going to judge us. We are very transparent. So even if you are an individual who's passionate about something, please use the third party platforms. Please start today. You're going to learn, you're going to network, you're going to meet people, and then you're going to decide that either this is something that's very unique and I have to do it all on my own with the support of the people I meet in my journey, or maybe you're going to realize that this is an idea or it's something I'm passionate about that someone else has tried as well, or they're trying
mm.
and maybe they're struggling and they are looking for someone like me to join them in their journey. So just join forces and do it together. So I think what the key message over here is to start today, start now with the things that you have, and don't doubt yourself.
Exactly. And then find number two, those people around you, right? Or even join somebody else, because I think it's also an ego thing for some people, including myself previously. I told myself when I first moved to China, I need to be a tech founder. I need to build a tech company. I need to have a $20 million exit and this and that. The stories we tell ourselves, but it's also very beautiful to join somebody else on their mission. I think that's also something great that you mentioned here to be added. Well, Azima, it's been a wonderful conversation. Thank you for re-inspiring myself and many out there. We make sure that a lot of people get to hear this beautiful message and story. What are the channels where people can learn more about Connect Here and about yourself? And yeah, if there's anything else you want to share, or if you have any request, any help that you need right now, please let us know.
Absolutely. I think I always say this, that if you learned something new and you would like to give back, the best thing for us would be that please always have your disability lens on, even if you don't have anyone around you who's a person with disability. However, constantly think about how can you make a difference for the community. So if you walk into a space and you see it's not accessible, you walk into an event and you see a deaf group and there's no sign language interpreter, raise your voice about it, right? We all need to be the ambassadors for this. It doesn't only have to be Azima because she has deaf parents, but also anyone out there, because they truly believe in the accessibility of the space of the world. Do it in your own work as well. And if there's absolutely anything Connect Here can do for you, I can do for you, reach out to us on Instagram. I think Instagram is the best way for you guys. We're on all social media channels. However, I would recommend just look up Connect Here and Azima Dhanjee on Instagram. Write to us, tell us what you agree with, don't agree with, and we can have more conversation.
Wonderful. Azima Dhanjee, thank you again so much. You're really living and breathing the Draper entrepreneurial hero spirit. Do you remember our oath? Maybe
you
we
fail
don't say
and
the
fail
complete
again. You fail and fail again until you succeed.
until we succeed, yes. And we do so with gusto and enthusiasm, right?
Yes, absolutely. At first, the oath, I was like, these are just random sentences of power. But now I realize why every sentence, every word means so much. And it's such a great reminder for the world out there, which is so tough.
Exactly. And it's every sentence has a special meaning for certain circumstances, right? Some, I think, like gusto and enthusiasm always helps us, and others, I think, they're fantastic reminders at specific times. So we'll make sure to share the Draper oath as well, at least linked up below here. Azima, thank you again. Wishing you a blessed day and much success for you, and wishing you massive growth and massive continued and growing impact with Connect Here.
Thank you so much, Jonas. All the very best and enjoy Bali. Like, I'm so jealous, but I'll be there soon.
Wonderful. Looking forward. Ask me for recommendations.
I will.
Thank
for
you,
sure.
everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Have a good one.